everyone! Thank you so much for tuning in this week for another video. For today's video, I have a watercolor painting that I did actually back in July. I had planned on doing something else for this week, but I had to visit my family back home and I didn't end up finishing the painting before that, so I dug out the videos that I took while painting this piece and decided to turn this one into a video instead. I think around this time I was looking to draw something cute and simple, and I got this idea of these two little pixies stealing coffee from a mug, and I thought it'd be really cute and I could play with the sense of scale, and I thought the teamwork of them working together to steal some coffee was a really cute idea. I didn't want to spend too much time exploring different poses or compositions because you can go down a rabbit hole that way. So I just took the first crude sketch that I did and took it into Photoshop to finalize a drawing for painting. So in my head, when I was picturing how this painting was gonna look, I was picturing something very colorful, and I wanted it to look very kitschy and kind of tacky, and I wanted to incorporate a rainbow somehow into the composition. I tried having the rainbow coming out of the mug, and I had the rainbow going behind the figures and the mug more in the background. And I also played around with the idea of having a coffee stained effect for the background, but I felt like that was a little too much and it looked a little muddy, so quickly scratched that idea. But I decided I liked the idea of the rainbow going behind them, and I felt like it also kind of drew the eye through the composition. And I actually asked my Instagram followers which rainbow orientation they liked better, and it was very close. 56% said they would go with the composition that I had picked, so I decided to go with it. So the first thing you see me do is I lay down a light wash of color and basically just knock out all of the white of the paper with whatever local color it's supposed to be. I like knocking out as much white of the paper as possible because it helps me see how the picture is coming together. And it also just mentally makes you feel like you are closer to finishing the picture. When you have a whole bunch of white, it's also very distracting because it's a lot of contrast that's not necessary. So I often start out my watercolor pieces this way. When I am not doing some kind of an underpainting, it's usually me filling out everything in its local color and knocking out as much white as possible and then building up on these layers as I go. Before I put in the rainbow, I decided to mask out some of the sparklies that I wanted to put in. So that's what you're seeing me do here. I don't often like to use masking fluid because I find it kind of hard to control, and I often just find it easier to paint around shapes, but in this case I decided it'd be much easier to paint the rainbow if I don't have to paint around every little shape. So once the masking fluid was dry, I decided to go in and put in the rainbow fairly early on. I didn't want to wait until everything was kind of finished looking. I just wanted it in there so that it would somehow give me a better idea of how the painting was supposed to progress. I didn't want the edges between each color to be too hard. I didn't want them to have like a very distinct outline between them. So I made sure that the paint I was working with was very wet so that the colors would blend into each other and wouldn't leave a harsh edge. And I did that because the rainbow is in the background and I didn't want it to take too much attention from the figures and the coffee. And I also keep the colors fairly muted because even though it's a colorful rainbow, it's in the background and I don't want it to take too much attention away from the two figures. And I want there to be a sense of depth. And now I felt ready to render things out a little more and give it some detail. I started out with the little pixie that is catching the coffee. I decided to give her bright red hair and some cute 90s inspired hair clips, and a cute mischievous smile with a little tongue sticking out. I really have a love and hate relationship when it comes to rendering faces. It's really fun in the beginning, and then there's a point you reach where, in hindsight, you probably should have stopped there. Now that I make YouTube videos, there's always a point when I go back and rewatch my time lapses when I'm editing the video. There's always a point where, I should have probably stopped it right there. It looked good, it looked finished, but in the moment, it doesn't feel finished. And in the moment, I always feel like I have to keep going, and I do end up keep going, and oftentimes I regret it. And this painting was no exception. I do think I did over-render her face towards the end. I think she still ended up looking cute, but really I could have saved myself, the extra 30 minutes or an hour agonizing over her face when it looked super cute. I didn't need to do that. Those are hours I will never get back. By the time I moved on to the other pixie, I think I learned my lesson, and I tried to keep it as simple as possible, the rendering as minimal as possible, and I really like how she turned out. I think she's super cute. I like her little scrunchie. I like her little butterfly clip, very 90s. Hands up if you had one. I sure did. And I like her. I really like her pose, and I think I rendered it out adequately. The mug, I decided to keep it simple and just went with a plain white ceramic mug. I didn't want it to distract from the rainbow or the coffee, and I think just a simple plain white ceramic mug is pretty iconic anyway, so works for me. I decided to play around with the coffee spill a little bit more. In my sketch, I initially had it kind of dripping down into their vessel, but I thought it'd be more fun if I gave the spilling action a little more sense of movement and a little bit of energy. So I made the coffee drops going out a little bit wilder than how I had it in my sketch, and I was happy I made that decision because I think it makes the coffee heist look a little more frenzied, and they are in more of a hurry, so it looks a little more exciting. And now here's the part where the painting takes a wild turn. I was standing back from the picture looking at it overall and felt like there's something missing in this blank space in the top right corner. It feels empty. It feels like there should be something there. So I said, what the heck? And I threw in the other rainbow as well, the one that is spilling out of the mug, as if its coffee is so magical that it casts its own rainbow. I thought maybe it'd be a little too much, but I am happy that I made that decision. I think it works. I made this new rainbow more saturated in color and a little more defined in its edges so that it looks closer to us and it separates itself from the rainbow going behind it. While I was painting this second rainbow, I just thought it was really funny because I had received so many DMs from people feeling very passionate about one composition over the other. And I wondered what they would think after seeing that I had fused the two comps, if they think that I had made a horrible mistake, or if they would think that, you know what, that's not a bad idea. At this point, I felt ready to move on to the sparkle details, so I peeled off the masking fluid layer to reveal some of the shapes that I had masked off. As I mentioned early on, I don't have great control of my masking fluid, so the shapes didn't turn out very evenly, so I wasn't super thrilled with that, but I decided to kind of go crazy with the sparkles and paint in a lot more manually. There was probably a point where I should have stopped with this as well, but I didn't want to hold anything back. I really just didn't want to overthink every decision in this painting. I wanted it to be fairly spontaneous, so I made my decisions swiftly, and some were good decisions and some were bad decisions. but these are decisions that had to be made in order for me to keep going and finish the painting. I went back to this redheaded pixie to give her some loose hair strands to indicate that maybe she's a little bit strung out on all that caffeine. Then I added some stars above the rainbow because why not? And then some lightning bolt symbols coming down from the rainbow because again, why not? Okay, in hindsight, I do regret the stars above the rainbow. I don't think they're very well done and they're not well designed. It doesn't add anything to the painting. Whereas the lightning bolts are symbolic of coffee, I think, in this case, where it's a jolt of energy for these pixies. And after some last refining touches, the painting was finished. This painting was sort of a quest for me to try and keep things simple and make decisions quickly and not overthink everything. And I do think I did achieve that. It is not a complicated piece. I don't intend making prints of it or anything like that. Although I do think it would make a really cute postcard, especially if it had some kind of textual element. I feel like it should say something like Mondays or time for coffee or something like that. I think that would be really cute. But it was really just a piece for me to break out of how I approach my paintings, not just physically but mentally, and I do think it helped a little bit. I think my favorite part of this piece is the little heart clip that the red-haired pixie is wearing. So yeah, if you have never seen this piece before, then I really hope you enjoyed watching it come together. And if you have seen it before on my Instagram, I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about the thoughts and decisions that went into it. I wanted to say something quickly before I let you guys go. As I mentioned before, I am visiting my family for a week and then I'm heading back to Ottawa. And I feel like I'm slowly finding my way back with these YouTube videos, and I'm starting to get more ideas coming in that I'm really excited about working on. And I haven't felt like that in a while, so I'm really feeling positive about how this is going. I'm super anxious to get back to that painting that I had to stop working on in order to take the train and get here. So I hope that I can keep that enthusiasm and excitement going. It really helps me when I see that you guys are excited about my videos. So I hope you will continue watching them. It really means a lot to me. I have so much to show you guys still. And so I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!